Welcome back to Their Future, Our Pod with Annie Andrews. I'm your host, Annie Andrews. Their Future, Our Pod is an Arena production. Arena is South Carolina's only progressive media company. If you don't already subscribe to our Substack, please go to thearenasc.com and subscribe so you can hear from all sorts of leading voices in South Carolina progressive politics. Now, last time we joined you, I was here with Dr. Michael O'Brien, and we were talking about all of the excitement around Vice President Kamala Harris's candidacy for president. And since that conversation, so much has happened, and all of it continues to be incredibly positive. I think Democrats all across the country feel like we're on some sort of high. It almost feels like it's too good to be true, but it is just so deeply exciting, motivating, and it is filling me with optimism. Later today, we're going to be joined by someone I have looked up to for quite some time, Charlotte Clymer. I'll introduce her later, but she is an incredible woman in this space, and we crossed paths on our work for Women for Harris this past week. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about what I've been up to because it has been a wild whirlwind of a week. I'm sure some of you have seen the headlines. Everything started on Sunday night with Win with Black Women, led by Joteka Edie. They had their standing Sunday evening call just hours after President Biden endorsed Vice President Harris for the presidency in this upcoming election. And during that call, over 40,000 women joined. They raised $1.5 million. This was followed by Monday evening's Win with Black Men call, Black Men for Harris, where tens of thousands of Black men joined. They raised $1.5 million for Kamala Harris. White women decided it was finally our time to actually, as we say, get our shit together. And from a period of Tuesday morning to Thursday night, I, along with my friend Shannon Watts and my two new friends, Liz Manella and Aaron Gallagher, planned the Answer the Call 2024 White Women Show Up for Kamala Harris call that had over 200,000 live participants. We raised $11 million for the vice president. Kamala Harris broke Zoom. It was an incredible experience and just shows the strength of this movement. And I am so grateful for the leadership of Win with Black Women and Joteka Edie for showing us how it's done. I am so grateful for Shannon and my other friends who dropped everything to plan Thursday evening's call. I am so grateful for the elected officials who joined us that night, for the celebrities, including Pink, who joined us. Pink came off the stage in Sweden, I believe, and called in from her private plane and was very engaged in the entire conversation. It really was a sight to behold. And I've been talking about the problem with white women this election cycle. And I experienced this as a candidate in a district that does have a lot of suburban neighborhoods in it. And I really feel like things are different now. Like white women finally understand why it's not okay to stay on the sidelines, why it's not okay to stay quiet, because everything is at stake this November. Most importantly to me, our children's futures are at stake. And so to see these coalitions building. And then this all culminated, of course, last night in the national organizing call for Women for Harris. The lineup of speakers was legitimately insane. I mean, Gloria Steinem there in her living room having a house party for Vice President Harris. Charlotte Clymer, our guest later today, was there and spoke beautifully about why she supports the vice president. The speakers were incredible. Women are leaning into their power in a way that I have not seen before. A diverse coalition of women are standing together, standing strong, realizing the social capital, the financial capital that we have and that we can bring to the table to help elect America's first female president. I'm doing it for my children, for my daughters, for all the kids I care for in my job as a pediatrician. I'm doing it because I believe American democracy is worth fighting for. I have slept very little since last Tuesday, but that's okay because we have less than 100 days until Election Day. And I know that the morning after the election, I want to wake up knowing that I gave this everything I had, that I left nothing on the field, that I did everything in my power to help elect Kamala Harris to be our first female president and the next president of the United States. So a lot of you who are casually engaged in politics, I think, are feeling the momentum and the excitement around these calls that we have seen, all of this money that is coming into the Harris campaign. And you might be wondering what else you can do, or can we sustain this excitement over the next several months until Election Day? And I think that's a really important question to be asking, because fundraising is critical. And if one of the things that you bring to the table is financial resources, then the first thing and the most effective thing you can do to help elect Kamala Harris is to write a check. So fire up your ActBlue account, donate directly to the campaign, because donations to the campaign help the campaign get on TV in the swing districts where we know we need to get out the vote. They also help, donations to the campaign also help fund a field operation, which is essential to getting out the vote. So we need boots on the ground, knocking on doors. We need phone bankers and text bankers. And that is an expensive operation, because you have to pay the organizers who organize the canvassing and the phone banks and the text banks. So first and foremost, please, if you haven't already, donate to the Harris campaign. If you've already donated, consider donating again. Look for in-person events in your community, host a fundraiser in your community. But the next thing you need to do is thinking about how else you can help. After you've given your financial resources, there's so much more you can do. And it's important to also point out, and my arena co-contributor, Emily Mayer, would not be happy if I didn't say this, but look at your local candidates. Local politics matters so much. What's happening at the school board level, at the town council level, at the state legislature level is so important and directly impacts the children in our communities and everything about our day-to-day lives. So do not ignore the down ballot races because of your excitement for the Harris campaign. Knowing that funding the Harris campaign and having so much excitement around the top of the ticket will certainly help get out the vote and will help down ballot races, but we also need to lean into those local races where our money can go a lot further. So look for winnable races that are local to your community and see what you can do to donate to those campaigns, to help with their direct mail program, to help with their field operation, and then do what you can to volunteer for those campaigns as well. But whatever you do, do not stay on the sidelines. Do not think that simply voting is enough. You have to do more. If each of us does a little bit more than just voting, I believe that we will wake up the morning after Election Day with our first female president. And that is worth working hard for. So things that we need you to do are to go to the Women for Harris website, just Google Women for Harris, sign up to volunteer, make a donation, search your local candidates, sign up to volunteer for them, make a donation to them, start talking on social media about what you're so excited about in the next 100 days and what you're going to do. I know that I am going to have already donated. I know that I am going to definitely phone bank. As much as I hate talking on the phone, in the 2020 cycle, I phone banked every Saturday leading up to the election, and it made me feel like I left it all on the playing field. I know I'm going to canvass. I may door knock here locally. I may travel to door knock in a swing state. I am literally willing to do everything I can to help elect Kamala Harris, and I hope that you will join me. Charlotte and I think, will talk about everything that's at stake. It is important for you to understand why you support Vice President Harris, why you support your local Democratic candidates, so that you can have informed conversations with your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues, so that we can help some of those independent voters, some of those persuadable voters come over to our side. And You can go to answerthecall2024.com. There's a Why Kamala button there. Those are talking points directly from the campaign. And you can see what she stands for, what she will fight for, and what she will fight against. And really, the choice could not be more clear. We have a choice between freedom with Vice President Harris or a choice for control with the Trump-Vance Project 2025 ticket. To me, as a child advocate, as a mother of 3 small children, the choice could not be more clear. I'm choosing freedom. I'm choosing Vice President Harris. So please make a plan today. If you're listening today, write in your notes app 3 things that you're going to pledge to do this election cycle. Make a donation if that's something you can do. And seriously, every dollar counts. A $5 recurring donation is meaningful to any campaign, local or federal. Make a donation, sign up to volunteer. Canvassing is great exercise. Also, phone bank, text bank, talk to your friends and neighbors. We've got this, but we cannot let the excitement of the past week dismantle. We have to continue. Sorry, I could not think of a word there. You know what I mean. We have to keep it going. We have to keep the excitement level on high. We have an incredible candidate with an incredible track record who has been in public service for decades. She has earned every position she has obtained, and the excitement around her campaign is so authentic and so organic, and I hope you're feeling as excited as I'm feeling. But we've got to number 1, pace ourselves. But number 2, we got to dial it up. We got to do everything we can. Things that we never thought we would do. You never thought you'd door knock. I door knocked for myself last election cycle. Talk about awkward. I did that. And you can do it too. It's fun. It's exercise. It's fresh air. Bring your kids. Leave it all out there. That's all I'm going to share with you today. I'm so excited for you to hear my conversation with Charlotte Clymer. Charlotte is someone that I have looked up to for quite some time. We've been mutual follows on Twitter, but this past week when we were planning the Answer the Call 2024 White Women Show Up for Kamala Harris call was the first time we actually got to interact. And I'm so grateful that this brought us together. And I'm so grateful that she's taking the time to be with us today. Charlotte Clymer has a very popular blog on Substack called Charlotte's Web Thoughts. So please subscribe to her Substack. She is a writer. She's a military veteran. She's a Texan. She is a transgender activist, and she is a communications consultant. And I'm really excited to pick her brain about how we can most effectively communicate about what is so exciting about Vice President Harris and what is so terrifying / weird about the Trump-Vance Project 2025 ticket. So thank you so much to Charlotte for being here, and thank you all for listening. Charlotte, thank you so much for being here. I followed you online for a long time. I'm a huge admirer of yours, and I'm really just pleased to be able to have this conversation with you today.
Oh my goodness, Annie, it's really great to be here. I'm happy to be chatting with you.
Well, you and I finally met off Twitter this week because we were involved together in planning the White Women for Kamala Harris call last Thursday. And since then, you have participated in the National Organizing Women for Harris call that was just the other night with a star-studded group of women. So I would love just for you to get started by telling me, I heard you speak about your experience personally with Kamala, but why you're so involved in this campaign and what you see as the possibilities of a Kamala Harris presidency.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I think that Kamala Harris is the best person for the job, bar none. She is I'd say, protege of President Biden. President Biden and Vice President Harris had an extraordinary 4 years in this administration. Historically successful in terms of legislation, in terms of a basic policy vision that doesn't leave any American behind. They've just been the kind of leaders that have really guided us through an extraordinarily difficult moment in our history. And Vice President Harris is the kind of person that can not only take what has been accomplished, but also put her own, I would say, visionary outlook on that, really take it to the next level. And we already see that in the campaign. So, I'm behind her every step of the way to save democracy, to send Trump and Vance and Project 2025 right into the dustbin, right into the dustbin of history where they belong. But, moreover, on a personal note, to make sure that no trans kid, no trans person ever feels like they are left behind in this country. And I think all those things in concert really motivate my desire to do everything I can to elect Vice President Harris.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I don't know what memories you have of the 2008 election cycle, but for me, I think you and I are close to the same age. For me, I'm feeling the same way I felt then. I'm obviously way more politically engaged now than I was in 2008, but I feel this great sense of national hope and optimism, and it feels so refreshing.
It does feel refreshing, and it also just feels thoroughly authentic. I can't remember the last time I felt so much hope. I mean, maybe it was 2008. Maybe it was. I would like to think it hasn't been 16 years since I've had that kind of authentic hope in my country, but maybe it has. Maybe it has been that long. And what's remarkable to me is the way that, for once, Democrats seem to be winning a proactive messaging war. Usually when we win elections, and by the way, that's not to criticize my party. I'm a proud Democrat. The thing is, though, is that even when you look at the fact that we've won three of the last four presidential elections, even though we've won six of the last eight popular votes, even though we've defied the polling the last three election cycles, even with all of that, when we do win, it always feels in some ways reactive. We are responding to something, we are contextualizing, we are trying to fact check. We always try to play strong defense, I guess, is how we win. And here we have a moment when the Democrats are saying, screw this, we're going to start punching before the attack starts. And it's just remarkable to see us come together, have a winning message, a proactive winning message, and for it to stick the landing. It fills me with a unmitigated hope. Excuse me, an unbridled hope.
I love that unbridled hope. I love that. So you're a communications professional. So what should people like me who have some level of a platform, like how should we be messaging? Why is the messaging right now feeling so good? And, what is some messaging advice for women and other people who support Harris to continue this like proactive willingness to throw the first punch? How can we message effectively about the choices we have on November 5th?
Yeah, so I think what's most important here is realizing that we all have personal connections around us that may be on the fence in this election. They don't they don't really know who they're going to vote for. Maybe there's something about the vice president that doesn't really resonate with them. Maybe it's they want lower taxes, or they have an issue with some other policy. It's our job. It's our job to look at our networks and make those personal connections. And the way we do that is by good storytelling. People want to have a firm relationship with an idea, with a movement, with an initiative that betters the world around them. Um, they need to feel motivated to do it. And when we can take our stories and relate it to a campaign in an authentic way, of course, don't force it. Don't, make something up or fabricate something. I would never say that, but try to take the parts of you that are most visibly moved by the vice president's vision for America, and just talk about it. Just be real. I like to look at it as don't talk like you're in a press release. Talk like you're having a cup of coffee with somebody, and you're trying to explain to them why. Or if you want to, ratchet up a little bit, talk about having a glass of wine with somebody and being, quite frank with them on why you support a candidate. And I promise you, if you just speak from the heart about why the vice president is moving you, it's going to resonate. It really will.
I think that's beautifully said. And I think people underestimate the importance of that relational organizing piece and having real conversations with people that they know and love and helping to create a movement in that way. It doesn't just have to be people like yourself who have big platforms. Um, another question I wanted to ask you is I think people, especially people in the healthcare profession, are worried about speaking up and getting canceled or speaking up and being on the receiving end of online abuse. And I know you have been on the receiving end of lots and lots of toxicity. So, what words can you share with people who are afraid to engage because of those reasons?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I would never tell anyone to put themselves in harm's way or to uh, try to negotiate the abuse that they experience if they do speak out online. What I will say are a few things. Number one is that those of us with privilege, I do think, have a responsibility in whatever way that we have privilege to speak out against the wrong that is occurring around us. That might be because we're white. It might be because we don't have a uterus and don't need abortion access. It might be because we're not a religious minority, or we have some kind of financial privilege. It could be anything. Those of us who have those advantages, we should try to use them to the best of our efforts. We really should. And I would say that, if you are experiencing hostility online, use every tool in the box and don't worry about, not using them. I block every single fool on Twitter who comes into my mentions trying to harass me or someone else. I will sometimes get emails from nonsense people, and I try to take those and contextualize them, or I would say reshape them into a positive, to something that is I would say optimistic or flips the script on them to get people motivated and inspired. Um, the best thing we can do though is just whenever we have the opportunity, whenever we're not putting ourselves in harm's way directly, speak up and say something, because that inspires other people to speak up and say something, and they inspire other people to speak up and say something. And so we all have that obligation, and we should take it seriously and just remember what it does accomplish in the long run.
I think that's really important for people to understand that when they choose to speak up, they don't know how many people are watching them. And so it can create a cascade effect of more and more people being brave enough to speak up. Um, I think one last question, because I don't want to take too much of your time. There's incredible excitement in the Women for Harris movement. And you've been at the center of that. You were just like casually on a Zoom with Gloria Steinem the other night and many, many other people. So tell us your perspective on what's happening with the Women for Harris movement and how we can sustain this. And then I'm sure, like you, I'm getting a lot of women reach out to me and saying, okay, I feel excited. What do I do? How do I channel it? It's like, where should people go? How should they channel their energy in the next 97 or so days?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, and I want to be clear about this. I don't want to take any undeserved credit for what Women for Harris is doing. I played a very small role in a huge movement. I would say Miss Rhonda Fox, the director of Women for Harris, has been extraordinary in bringing together this enormous group of women who are motivated and want to get out there and do the damn thing, get
Yep.
those votes, elect our vice president. I'd say when I look at women like you and women like Shannon Watts, I mean, what you accomplished with what was it called again? The formal title. Well,
Answer
the
the
call,
call. Yeah.
answer the call, which y'all accomplished with answer the call, and the example that all of us following the example, of course, of Win with Black Women, and what
Yep.
they did to kick off an entire week of Zoom. But following their leadership, I look at women like y'all who just took that baton and sprinted with it. did not slow down, did not ask, maybe this is too difficult. You didn't do any of that. So um, I'm trying to follow those examples. I really am. I have had a couple days last week where I was bone tired, and really trying to make excuses for calling it an early day on some nights, like 4 or 5, being like, you know what, I'm just gonna relax for the rest of the night, and then I'll get an email from someone who says, "Hey, can you do this? Can you help us organize a phone banking session on Saturday?" Or another email, "Can you help us do a sign-on letter?" Or, "Hey, can you retweet this?" These are people with so much energy who want to get out there and realize that we only have a little time left. I mean, these long 8 years, right? Because it hasn't been just 3.5, it's been 8. Ever since the thick of the 2016 campaign, we've been going through this horrible, horrible moment for our country. And yet, here we are finally with 3 months just left to go, just 3 months left to go. And if we get through this could be finally the thing that breaks Trump's back, that sends him right into obscurity. Well, not into obscurity, because we're going to know about his ridiculousness for a long, long, long time. But it's going to take the wind out of their sails. And reasonable adults across the country, regardless if they're Democrat, Republican, Independent, we can all come together and build a future that doesn't leave any of us behind. We can do that in the next 3 months. 3 months. That's all we have left. That's a summer. All we have left is a political summer. That's all we have. So, I'm going to encourage folks to just get rest when you need it. Take a day off if you need to do that. But just realize that I promise every drop of blood, sweat, and tears that you put into this campaign is going to feel so damn good in the morning after Election Day. It's going to feel amazing. You're going to be so thankful that you did the work that needed to be done. Okay, so I'll get up my soapbox, but also text women to 30330. Text women to 30330. That is how you can get involved, volunteer with the campaign, and put everything you got into this movement.
I have to say, I've had an exhilarating week, 9 days, and you just gave me chills. So, that was incredibly motivational and inspiring. So, thank you so much, Charlotte. And how can people hear more from you? How can people follow you online? You have an incredible Substack. So, tell people how to hear more from you in the next 100 days.
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, Annie, thank you for all you do. I mean, you are such a powerhouse. You always get out there and just make things happen and bring folks together. And I can't, I just can't tell you how much I appreciate everything you've done, especially over the last 10 days.
Thank you.
Folks can follow my blog. It's called Charlotte's Web Thoughts. It's at charlotteclymer.substack.com, or you can also just go to Google and type Charlotte's Web Thoughts and it'll pop right up. And I write about politics, religion, and culture. That is my main job. It's how I pay my bills, and it's doing pretty well. People seem to like it. It's won a couple awards, so I'm pretty happy about that. Yeah, so go do that. And then I'm also on Twitter at CM Clymer. I'm also on Threads at charlotte.clymer and Instagram at charlotte.clymer. Just pick your poison. I'm happy to deliver the goods for you.
Well, thank you for using your voice so effectively and for being such a leader and for inspiring me and so many others. And thank you for taking time out of your vacation to join me today on Their Future, Our Pod.
Thank you, ma'am. It's an honor.